A priest stands inside a buried temple, swinging a bronze axe through brick. He has already broken 2 walls. A third one is waiting, and the air around him has gone thick and raw. Everyone has heard of Pompeii. Almost nobody asks what its last ordinary night actually felt like. But that night, the water in the city's wells already tasted of metal, and nobody thought to ask why. This video takes you inside the last normal night of Pompeii. You will not get out before dawn. A baker seals 81 loaves inside a stone oven, certain of tomorrow. A priest reaches a wall he cannot break and understands. It is the night before the mountain remembers how to kill. In Pompeii, the air smells of wood smoke, worn stone, and the sea. Somewhere down toward the harbor, a dog barks twice and goes quiet again. At the bakery of Modestus, near the Forum, a man is awake while the rest of the street sleeps. He kneads dough in the dark, shapes each loaf by hand, presses a cord pattern across the top so the bread will divide cleanly later. 81 loaves tonight. He has done this every night for years, and his hands know the work better than his eyes do. He slides the first batch into the brick oven and shuts the iron door. There is a loaf of bread baked that night that nobody will ever eat. We will get to why. Down the street, fresh election slogans dry on a plaster wall, painted only hours earlier by a sign maker working alone by move. One promises a candidate will keep the granaries full. Another warns, only half joking, that anyone who scratches it out will fall sick. A landlady's rental notice hangs nearby, advertising shops and upper rooms for the next 5 years. She wrote it, certain her property would still be standing to collect on it. The baker does not know the mountain above the bay has spent weeks quietly poisoning its own wells. He does not know that years earlier, 600 sheep dropped dead in a field outside the city, for no reason anyone bothered to explain. He only knows the fire is hot, the dough is rising, and the sky outside is the same sky it has always been. 26 hours from now, the bakery is warm. The city is asleep. He latches the oven door and starts on the second batch. Years before that night, long before anyone in Pompeii thought to worry, the city's own wells had already started keeping a record. Mineral deposits building up inside them, layer by layer, carried a chemical signature tied to gas bleeding slowly upward from the magma chamber far below. Nobody in the city could have read that record. Nobody was looking for it. 6 weeks before that night, the wells across Pompeii began to taste different. Sharper, faintly metallic. Nobody connected it to the mountain. They blamed the dry summer. 17 years earlier, the ground had thrown the city sideways. The temple of Jupiter cracked apart. Public baths buckled. In a pasture just outside the walls, 600 sheep dropped dead within minutes. An invisible gas had bled up silently through cracks in the soil. The city rebuilt. Pompeii always rebuilt. 4 nights before the baker's first loaf went into the oven, the tremors started again. Small ones. The kind the city had felt 100 times before and shrugged off without a second thought. In the temple of Isis, a priest checks the water clock before the dawn rites, watching the float rise too slowly. Grit has begun working its way into the gears. He makes a note to have it cleaned, and thinks nothing more of it. Underground, the clay pipes feeding the city from the Aqua Augusta begin to crack as the ground swells with rising heat. In the hours before dawn, the flow into the public fountain slows, then stutters, then stops in entire neighborhoods. Nobody yet understands why water that has run for generations has simply stopped running. By morning, the animals already know something the people do not. On the slopes above the city, the birds go silent, then vanish completely. Goats turn restless, pacing fence lines they have walked calmly for years. In a courtyard pond near the harbor, a wealthy family's ornamental fish, pampered and fed by hand, turn belly up overnight. The water tastes faintly of sulfur now. Someone mentions it at breakfast and laughs it off. The ground moves, just slightly. 20 hours from now, the baker is already at the market, trading warm bread for olives and a jug of wine. Nobody in Pompeii has ever seen this mountain erupt. Their grandparents hadn't either. Vesuvius has been quiet for so long that most people in the city do not know it is a volcano at all. They have learned to live with small earthquakes, the way people learn to live with anything that keeps happening and never gets worse. This time, it gets worse. By early afternoon, the sky over Pompeii is gone. A column of ash and stone has risen higher than anyone has ever seen anything rise, and it has swallowed the sun whole. The sound reaches the city 24 seconds after the mountain tears itself open. A flat, concussive slap that rattles loose roof tiles and stops every conversation in the forum at once. Then the pumice starts falling. Small at first, then heavier, drumming on terracotta roofs in a rhythm that refuses to stop. Fine gray ash settles into every open jar, every fold of cloth left hanging in a courtyard. It gathers on windowsills like a sick imitation of snow. Families pack into back rooms, cellars, the strongest corners of their houses, tying pillows to their heads with torn bedsheets. The air outside smells of rotten eggs and hot stone. Inside, the smell finds them anyway, seeping under doors, through cracks in old plaster, into the backs of throats. In one house near the forum, 13 people press into a single back room. A pregnant girl, barely 18, leans against an older man's shoulder. 3 young boys curl against their mother's knees, listening to the roof groan under ash piling higher than anyone expected. Someone whispers that the worst of it must be over soon. In the temple of Isis, the priest is still inside. The exits are gone, buried under fallen stone and rising ash. He picks up the bronze axe used for ceremony and starts hacking through the inner wall, choosing motion over waiting. He breaks through the first wall, then the second. Someone near him whispers that the gods will not let the temple fall. He does not answer. He keeps swinging. The third wall is solid brick, thicker than the others, built to outlast centuries. His arms are already failing. The air has thinned into something closer to paste than breath. He sets the axe down. For 5 seconds, he understands completely what is happening to him. Then he sits against the wall he could not break and waits. Outside, the dark does not relent. Survivors describe it later as the black of a sealed room with no candle and no door. Somewhere in the streets, separated families call out names into the dark, voices swallowed almost as soon as they leave their throats. Visibility drops to less than an arm's length. Fine ash mixes with the moisture in people's eyes and throats, turning to paste. 6 hours from now, the temple has gone silent. The mountain is not finished. Just before dawn on the second day, something strange happens. The mountain goes quiet. For a few hours, the eruption seems to be slowing. Survivors who made it through the night begin to hope the worst has passed. Some step outside. Some start digging toward daylight. The silence is not mercy. It is the column collapsing in on itself, gathering into something faster, lower, and far more lethal than anything that fell before. 40 minutes. The air outside still tastes survivable. Then the fourth surge arrives. Superheated gas and ash, moving faster than anyone could run, reaches the city almost without warning. The ash layer it leaves behind is only a few centimeters deep. It does not need to be deep. It is hot enough to kill on contact, fast enough that most people never finish their last sentence. In a courtyard nearby, a dog strains against a bronze-studded collar chained to a post. He climbs the rising debris to keep his head above it, for as long as his body allows. At the bakery of Modestus, the oven door, latched shut hours earlier, never opens again, sealed. Inside, 81 loaves finished baking in heat no oven was built to produce, locked in ash instead of air. That is the bread nobody ever eats. Not because anyone forgot it, because the person who would have eaten it ran or didn't. And either way, the city around that oven stopped having mornings. 19 centuries later, archaeologists open that same oven door. The bread is still there, round, segmented, recognizably bread, baked perfectly and never touched. Pompeii did not fall because its people were careless. It fell because normal is the most convincing lie a place can tell you, especially after it has told the truth for centuries. Vesuvius had been quiet for so long that quiet started to feel permanent. Today, over 500,000 people live inside that same mountain's reach. Most of them rank it somewhere below traffic and rent on their list of daily worries. The bread is still proof of what waiting looks like. Next week, a city that survived its mountain once builds its future on the same fault line that will finish the job a second time.